There we go. Okay, we'll call this meeting of the Planning and Zoning Committee to order. First on our agenda today is the Metz Family Trust, 6435 Western Road, South Town of Winnebago, conditional use permit. This is a review.
So on August 5th of 2022, this conditional use permit was approved and we viewed it back in May. And we saw no issues and we've received no complaints, so staff's recommendation is to we review, right now it's set up that we review this every 12 months. Given the fact that they're operating with no complaints, staff's recommendation is for no action to be taken at this time and no further review until there is a violation.
Thank you. Come back to the committee.
There's no vote on this, so this is
Yeah.
just a.
Any discussion? To allow us time for that.
I think that we should go and look at it, check it out at least one more time, just to make sure, so they can't say, well, you guys didn't look at it anymore. That's just my feelings. I'm really happy to hear that there was no complaints on it whatsoever, but. I don't know what the rest feel.
I don't mind if you want to review it again one more time.
Yeah, I'm all right with that. I think one more time doing our due diligence, I don't think that's a bad idea because again. We could have people that were against it that come back and say, well, you guys, yeah, you took one look at it and just said everything's okay. You know,
So one in 12 months,
Yeah.
yeah, that sounds good.
all right?
All right, item number 2. I have Properties LLC, 1577 Deerwood Drive, Town of Nina. This is a zoning change.
I'm gonna scoot over here, if that's okay?
Yep.
Okay.
So since we already voted on this, do we have to
Yeah.
make another motion again? No.
So there's two, you have two options right now. You can
Like,
refer it back to
one of those two.
public hearing.
Yeah.
Or you can stick with your original decision and forward it back to county board.
It's actually,
They
should we get one?
I think so.
You guys can get one. Speculation.
You did not get one.
So do we need a motion
Here,
to
can we get
discuss
one more
this
with them?
then? With those options? Would you like?
Oh,
to-
shoot, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, there's no action.
Let me look at this.
Number 2.
There is no action.
Because we've already acted. But it was referred back to this
Correct.
committee, which I made the motion at county board to refer it back to this committee.
To have questions answered.
Based on how I read the
Mhm.
information and then how corporate counsel read hers at the county board level. So that's why I wanted to come back here.
I'm just looking, do you have? So, in terms of action items. How do you, well, for instance, the first one you had is review, right? How do you characterize an action item? Do you typically say vote?
P and Z or Planning and Zoning Committee. With possible or possible action.
Where does it say that on the agenda?
It doesn't,
Oh, okay,
that's the,
okay. Well, we can certainly discuss it.
Mhm.
Because it's on the agenda. And then based on that, then you can make. During your next meeting in the agenda, then you will have a vote referenced, so then we can go forward, but at least since we're here. And you do have Hot Heads property zoning change. We can certainly discuss what the research has shown.
I'm
Because
interested in
you,
that because I know what I thought I knew and I want to know, now I want to know what I know.
or what you don't know,
Exactly.
or what you don't know. How have you done this in the past? Mary Beth and Tom, you've been on it for. On this committee for long. I mean, how has it been characterized in the past?
Well, we already made our decision prior.
Yes, but then it got referred back here.
So it's back here. So my thought was we either go with what Gary was mentioning. We do either
Thank you.
back to public hearing, which I
None of these
know.
specify action. They're all assuming.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
All
because-
these items, decisions are made
guessing
on.
Review is the only one that implies that there is no action
Yeah.
on the
I'm
review.
guessing.
Everything
that
else
you're-
is an
you're
action
wanting to
item.
find out.
I'm just looking at the agenda
standing
because
of
on a
imposing
lot
deed
of the
restriction and so
different
on and so
committees,
forth.
it
Yeah.
will say vote.
I can't follow it all.
Go ahead.
You guys all were at the county board
Yep.
meeting, so you got information from corporate counsel on what she had found out
Mhm.
through state statutes and talking to planning and zoning.
So.
And you know that the town of Neenah is under county zoning.
Mhm.
So that's why I made the motion to refer it back to this committee, not town of Neenah, because town of Neenah is governed by planning and zoning from the county. So we're back here to discuss it.
Right,
And as Carrie mentioned, either you stick with your vote or you refer it back to a public hearing.
and this is where I would ask core counsel. Did you find anything new out that we weren't aware of? at
No,
the last-
because again, and the sheet that we gave you was just sort of summary of what led to it. And basically, so there was, as you'll see, I highlighted on May 15th, there was a public hearing regarding hothead zoning map amendment, okay? That town board passed a resolution approving the application. But what they did is in the other section, so they approved the application. They conditioned it on certain things, all right? And they conditioned it on, you can't have outside storage, you need to extend the landscape, you need to maintain the existing screening. There was no information that we were able to find that said the owner of the property agreed to any of these quote conditions, okay? And the law is, there is no state statute or Winnebago County ordinance for conditional zoning in terms of approving this proposed zoning map amendment. Moreover, there is the imposition of the deed restriction as a condition of the zoning map amendment is also not referenced in the statutes. That's the issue. And this is what I really, and I'd like, can you put up a statute or no? Can you go to 5969? Oh, sorry. So just say with stat
69.
59.69. Open paren 5, close paren.
I'm following you.
Okay, open paren, lowercase e, okay, 59.16, open paren 50.69.
0.16.
No, I'm sorry, I'm just going through him.
Okay, sorry.
This.
59.69.
Look. Did you got that? Open paren, there you go. Okay, there you go. Now go to 5E3. Okay. So you will see, it
Hold on.
says
Let me
if,
share this with everybody.
oh yeah. Thank you, Daniel.
Okay,
Okay,
Can you enlarge that?
I believe if I enlarge it anymore.
you can get up and close,
That's okay, I can
because I
read
do
it.
that all the time.
No, I can read it. I was just curious.
Oop.
So read that.
So,
Oh, you're gonna read that to us. please.
yeah, but it would be better if you, but I can, so these are the operative. This is the operative language, E3. If a town affected, that's it. So if a town affected, this is right from the Wisconsin legislature, okay? If a town affected by the proposed amendment, okay? The town board may file a certified copy of the resolution disapproving of the petition with the agency before, at, or within 10 days after the public hearing, okay? So the bottom line is the town of Neenah has failed to present any evidence saying they disapproved of this application. In fact, if you look at the actual application or the
Resolution.
resolution, it says it's approved, okay? So, moreover, there is no evidence to suggest that the town of Neenah attempted to follow the statutory requirements for filing a resolution opposing this town amendment by filing an alternative resolution. So bottom line is, the County Planning and Zoning Committee has to author a recommendation regarding this proposed amendment. But the problem is, you are put into a very difficult situation, since there is no law in Wisconsin which allows for this, because the town approved the resolution. And now let me reference, if we can, because again, there's no state statute or county ordinance which gives town boards the authority to demand the imposition of restrictions as a condition of their approval. We have not found that. I have a bright star from Madison who has not been able to find that. But let me reference the attorney who was representing the town of Neenah referenced a pamphlet, okay, called Zoning, that was issued decades ago by UW Extension, okay? However, nowhere in the pamphlet is there a statutory reference to what they're saying. Now, I know they reference Mr. Ohm, who is like the guru in Wisconsin for planning and zoning. But Ms. Schrei looked at the actual Ohm book, and there was no statutory reference in the book either. So there have been cases, and in terms of Mr. Ohm's 1999 guide, he talks about conditional zoning is the attachment of conditions that are not spelled out in the text of the zoning ordinance. This is what he says in his book, okay? But again, no statute referencing it. Then he says, conditional zoning can operate in one of two manners. Either the property owner puts conditions on the property and then formally applies for rezoning, or the other variation is when the community takes the first step by passing rezoning and then putting into effect immediately, but coupling it with a condition that rezoning will be repealed if the applicant fails to carry out a condition. That is different than what we have here. There have been a few cases before the Wisconsin Supreme Court that touched on zoning. But the bottom line is, the issue in the case did not look at the validity of zoning. They referenced conditional zoning in passing reference. They did say in this one case called Town of Rhine versus Bizel, they distinguished conditional zoning from conditional use permits. So they said conditional uses should not be confused with conditional use zoning. Conditional zoning is subject to the owner's acceptance of additional requirements that otherwise are not applied in the new zoning district. But again, any cases that referenced conditional zoning with the Supreme Court were only tangential. They did not look at the actual language. And when we go back to the actual language of the statute, in my opinion, you cannot, as Carrie said, you're either going to have to refer to the town board, or no, I'm sorry, refer it for public hearing,
Correct.
or what's the other one?
County board, back
Or
to county board
County board. Or county board.
for final action.
So that's basically, and again, Winnebago County has never allowed a town to implement conditional zoning in the approval of a zoning map. That's correct, Karen?
Correct.
The nature of the conditions that Neenah is attempting to implement, a self-imposed deed restriction, have never been utilized by the Winnebago County Board or enforced by a Winnebago County Board. And has the Winnebago County Board ever placed a deed restriction on property to be enforced by a town or county
Not
as
to
a
my
condition
knowledge. Not to my knowledge.
to approving amendment. Yeah. So in other words, we are in a totally new area because there's no law in place other than the statute, and the statute does not allow for this. That's my interpretation. And the reference in the town of Nina's attorney's letter, while they do have references, there's no statutory reference. So that's where we sit.
And then back to my scenario. I trust your opinion and you did your research. That's why I sent it back to this committee, not the town of Nina. Because town of Nina is under county zoning. Since I've been on this commission, we have never put conditions on zoning changes. And we all asked Brian at the public hearing that night. We
Brian,
can't,
where-
Brian,
Oh,
we
sorry.
Right
can't,
here.
we can't put conditions on a zoning change. And he goes, that is correct.
Mhm.
So I've already voted on this. And so is this committee. I don't know why we would send it back to a public hearing again. We've already been at the public hearing. Would that be to appease somebody? But I'm not sure who we're appeasing.
And another question, have you heard anything from the town?
Yes.
Oh.
Say yes.
But it can't be part of the record.
I got an email from a property owner nearby that wanted an email read in. And Bob Schmeichel submitted a statement from the town of Nina, but this is a. This
Well, what I'm
hearing,
referring to is what we have on the screen there. Did they get a hold of you within
oh,
10 days?
no, not that.
They did not.
Oh,
No,
that's
That- and I'm
long
just-
gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm just making sure we're getting that all out right now because I have a feeling I know what we're going to do. I may be wrong, but this way it's
Okay.
all bang on the record in one nice little area.
and I'm gonna go on to point out that we did receive correspondence from the town that wanted read it in at this meeting, and we, from a neighbor and also a statement from Bob Schmeichel, town's position. This matter has been closed. We can't take any more testimony. So I wanted on the record that we acknowledge that I received it. But from a legal standpoint, we cannot introduce no testimony.
Right, and
On
anything
this matter.
that would pertain to what we have on this, on our screen. That did not
And I
happen.
confirmed the
That's
same
within
with
10 days.
Corporation Council.
Just making sure we all have that clear. On the record,
And as Supervisor Gabbard said, the reason it's here is because she referred it back, given the fact you folks received a letter at the last minute from Town of Nina's council raising some issues. So that's what happened. And I think that's perfectly fine. If there's any questions to,
and she acted very expeditiously to cut off the sending it back to Nina part too.
But as I refer back to, there was a public hearing on this that the town of Nina could have come to.
and it was noticed.
And it was noticed. So sending it back to a public hearing to hear those two. That would open it up to hear those two documents read. So a neighbor and the town chairman, but the town chairman. Needs to, I know he realizes this. He's under county zoning. And he should know that you can't. You can't put conditions on a zoning change. So I don't know why we'd go back to a public hearing.
I don't know either. I have a question though. This is this is a commercial property. So don't they have to provide a site plan,
Not for, not for a zoning change.
not for a zoning change, but to put a building on it, there has to be a site plan.
That comes with the permit that's issued to allow the construction of the building.
Okay.
So at that point, there would be a site plan.
Yes, and in reality, you know, these things that they're asking for, the landscaping, isn't that part of, that should be part of the site plan.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We have
That's-
specific provisions in our
that's-
ordinance, yes.
That's where these conditions should go, is on that site plan. And who reviews that site plan?
County staff.
Okay. That's where these conditions should be, not on the zoning.
Correct.
100% correct.
They're three things, right? Extend the landscaping, maintain the existing screening along Deerwood Drive, And then it says prohibit outside storage of personal property.
Yeah, those are all development plan, either
And,
GDP or
and
SIP.
those conditions can all go on the site plan.
I'm not sure about the outside
Outside
storage. The
storage.
district
Well-
allows that.
Okay,
The district allows that. That would be kind of subjective to do that, I think,
okay,
the district.
but you could provide screening for the outside storage.
That would be part of the landscaping.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Don.
I thought Bob Schmeichel did send a letter within the 10-day, right away coming from the town. Thing that he didn't.
But we just got that.
The one we had at county board that night,
Yeah, so.
I don't think that was,
Well, that was,
That was
what
the
there was a
first
second,
letter.
there was a second letter
Oh, that's-
that came from Bob, yeah.
Also, the second letter that come from Bob, yeah, but the first one, I thought he had been.
within 10 days of
Right.
her, I don't think that.
July
was.
27th. So that's well after the 10 days.
Last week, I think.
Yeah.
So do we? We make a motion to send it back.
We don't have it listed as being able to do.
Well, but you know, that was the concern I had, because I'm looking at this agenda. Nothing is referenced as an action item here.
No, it's assumed that they're all actions unless otherwise. That's how the other way are.
That's how you've always done
Yeah.
it.
That's why the
Parent
first
that
one
they're
says
action
review.
items.
Yeah, to indicate there's no decision being made.
Well, there is a decision. You're
No,
referring
review.
it back.
Review
No, I meant
means-
the first one. We
Oh,
put
oh.
Review means no action. it's just a review.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for explaining.
So if we do, well, we're not. Okay, never mind. We have no choice here because there's nothing.
And send it. The county board.
Yeah, there are two options.
We do have those
Yes,
two
there
options.
send it
are
back
two
to public
options on the
hearing.
table.
Because again, whenever your practice has been to basically list all of these items and don't say vote or refer, it's just. The buzzword is review. Review means you're not going to vote on anything.
Right.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, all right.
So
Yes, go ahead. Sherman.
just for practical standpoint and just approach, I understand the law. I don't understand the law, but I understand that. But the cooperation with townships is really important. I know for everybody, but for me, that's an important thing, and not to be a cog in their wheel either. So I guess the public hearing, sending it back to the public hearing where more information can be drummed up or hashed out, or technicalities. It's easy to say, well, that can go on to, you know, this is part of the site plan. But if we don't do things correctly as we go, I'm not saying we're not doing things correctly, but if I would hate to leave a mess for someone, they never really do anything about it.
Well, we're following the law. As
Yeah,
it exists right now. You cannot, in my opinion, act other than in the ways we've mentioned, which is refer it back to the county board and say, we've looked at it, or have a public hearing.
sure.
You cannot, per statute, act on this application in any way other than that. That's all I'm
Absolutely.
telling you.
Yeah, that's
But
fine.
yes, you want to make sure everybody is heard.
So in your opinion, if I can ask, what would be the better route to go for
I
for
will go ahead.
propriety and for everybody involved?
Sure. I can't tell you what's better because I have not been elected by your constituency. I can tell you what the legal ways are to do this.
Okay,
You've got either going to public hearing or going back to the county board.
Okay.
That's all I want. And I don't mean to be.
no, that's okay. So
Yeah.
going to the public hearing would at least provide more information.
But do we need more information? To make a decision on this?
I don't need any more information
Because-
because we already had a public hearing.
Yeah.
Where the town of Nina could have came in and that
Notice.
neighbor could have come in.
and,
All right.
and public hearing just delays what this property owner is
Correct, and
trying
it's
to.
already been delayed.
All right,
Since,
that's all I needed.
And they can also come speak at the county board meeting and we will have. Our corporation counsel there to explain to them
Okay,
if they, for some reason, didn't pay attention to this meeting, which doesn't seem like it would be in their best interest.
okay. So-
And just
But-
for on the record, the letter we receive that individual was at the public hearing and testified.
Okay. Good information.
Yeah, thank you.
To me, if you send it back to public hearing, then we're gonna have more of these coming up, and then you waste another 6 weeks. And this gentleman and this situation have waited since they've waited 6 weeks.
You could be creating a dangerous precedent by
Do
starting.
I want to make a motion?
Are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion because I'm gonna make a motion that we send this. I'll say back to Winnebago County Board because it was already there. For their agenda for, oh, I don't know if we can get that,
I'll second that.
yeah. Hopefully in August.
Any other discussion on the motion?
And that's based on all this information that we've kind of gone through again.
Mhm.
That's just my thought on it.
Okay, anyone else? Do we have everybody thoroughly filled in? Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Okay.
Any opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you, Mary Ann.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. That's what I'm here for.
Thanks, Mary Ann.
Yeah.
You don't want to stay for any more?
I think solid waste and what, now Monday night, we're gonna have judiciary.
Oh, yeah.
That's the big thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
go to that too.
Item number 3. Bond et al. 1747 and 1743 Borough Road from Utica zoning change.
So this one was referred back. Like the previous one, because there was some confusion.
It was also my fault for not having the information readily available. I didn't expect this one kind of caught me by surprise.
Right, so the wording of what was being applied for is confusing, but the fact of the matter is both lots have dual zoning. So when we do the applicant is requesting, et cetera, we have to say A2 and R2 to A2 and R2 for the other lot, because both of them have dual zoning.
We redid the staff report. We had to trick the computer because the computer likes to autofill. So to make it more clear, you want A2 to R2 and R2 to A2.
And I think
Okay,
if someone
so-
would have spoke on that, because Supervisor Eisen
Mhm.
is the one, he goes, Mary Beth, you're not doing anything here. It's the same thing. It's very confusing. I think if what you just said was stated, I think he wouldn't have sent it back.
That's a fair question.
And like you put it in for the computer, maybe put it in like that for the,
We never had to, yeah, this was, yeah,
you understand?
I could totally get the point.
Yeah,
That's all it was, is
Yeah.
he felt confused, so he thought if he was confused. That everybody else would be confused, so his idea was send it back to this committee.
But
So
who would have
that's-
called, whether the committee members.
And I said, you
or
could have
staff.
called planning and zoning and they would have clarified that for you, but okay.
yeah, I informed him of that after the meeting as well, so.
So I don't think it was anything other than that.
So do we have anything else to discuss on this one, or do we have the wording now?
We have a correct, I handed it myself with the computer to make sure it was clear on there.
So that if this goes back, well, that's where I think it's headed, back to county board,
Mhm.
there'll be another document.
Yes, a
That-
revised
Yes.
one. It says A2, yeah,
Okay,
it's clear in the language.
and so all I think it was clarity. So.
We need a motion to send it back to county board.
Yep, so I'm gonna make a motion to send the bond and other zoning change back to Winnebago County Board.
I'll second that.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Okay.
Any opposed? It passes. Item number 4, Stephen Kratz, parcels north and south of Dutchess Lane, town of Algoma, zoning map amendment adjourned from June public hearing.
That's you.
That was you, don't you?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm the wrong order. Staff report reads as follows. 1, Town of Algoma has approved. 2, town findings were as follows. Town has an adopted land use plan. 2, action agrees that the town adopted town plan. 3, there were no objections. 4, proposed use is compatible with adjacent uses. Recommendation is for approval.
Also move for approval.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Item number 5, Jim Drummond, 3811 Red Oak Court, Town of Nakai, Rural Accessory Building. I'll slow down next time, Terry.
Okay, so this is the rural accessory building. The basis of the owner's request in a rural accessory building determination for a hangar that was built in 74 by Steve Whitman. The structure is unchanged from the original construction and is 40 by 40 with a bifold door on the south side. The structure is still used as an airplane hangar. As the committee notes in the basis of a decision, they only have to meet one of the 4 criteria, and this building is characteristic of past agriculture, or I'm sorry, is of local historic significance, number 1. So staff recommendation would be to approve the request for the rural building determination.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Item number 6, Wisco Labs LLC, 416 State Road 26, Town of Nakai, conditional use permit.
Staff report reads as follows. 1, the town of Nakai has approved. The town may approve with conditions or deny in a non-shoreland area. There were no objections. 3 and 4, the proposed use is compatible with adjacent uses. Staff recommendation is for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just discussion since it's a conditional use permit. If anybody wants to put any conditions on here, I don't have any. But this would be the time to do that.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Item number 7, Treehouse Properties LLC, 7258 Roy's Road, Town of Winnebago, conditional use permit.
Staff report reads as follows. 1, the town of Winnebago has approved. Town action is advisory in shoreline jurisdiction. 2, town findings for approval with conditions were as follows. 1, no negative impact on town. 3, there were 1 objection to the establishment of the campground. And 4, proposed use is compatible with adjacent uses. Staff recommendation is for approval with conditions. Town conditions, a maximum of 4 units. County conditions, 1, county shall review conditional use for compliance with conditions and Winnebago County zoning code annually for 3 years. 2, campground owners shall obtain a license from the Winnebago County Health Department. I'll point out that license is through the state of Wisconsin. And the county health department is charged with issuing that license.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve Treehouse Properties LLC, Town of Winnebago conditional use permit.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion?
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
go ahead, go ahead.
So maximum 4 plus the 1. That's not including the other one, so it would be 5, but that's a separate parcel.
That's the same parcel.
Yeah.
That's an existing unit. They're asking for these 4. That was
So that's just an addition to the unit, so it's
Yeah.
really 5, but it's maximum 4.
the existing one is a residential structure that they're using as a Airbnb. We issued a zoning permit for that a number of years ago, and they built a residence above it. And I think they rented out or something, but that's for us, just residential use.
Okay,
The actual campground is these 4 additional units.
all right, thank you.
I think that's where a lot of people were getting confused.
It doesn't take much.
I've gotten quite a bit of feedback from neighbors that were upset about it. But they also stated, you know, they thought that this was, you know, already existing without any permitting. They didn't realize that that was a previous permit. They had no idea it was even there, which tells me that there haven't been any problems with it. Okay, because it's been in operation and they didn't know it. So obviously,
I
And
guess,
I like the review, because I was gonna say, I'd like a condition that we review this on an annual basis, so you've got that covered for me, so I'm good with that.
and over in Black Wolf, I had some complaints on Airbnbs just from people. So I guess you know, does staff have any feedback on that or opinions on?
We get calls now and again from towns regarding Airbnbs, and from the county standpoint, Airbnb is just residential use. That's the way a lot of counties handle them. Some try to go beyond that, but most prefer to have local control when it comes to that, because the complaints that we get, and I know of some of the ones in Black Wolf, are local issues that we don't have staff time to monitor, and it's more local issues like traffic, peace and order. I mean, that's a you know, your law enforcement. And the other one I heard is boats and stuff going on the shore, and you know, this is weekend stuff, and it's best managed locally. It would be difficult for this level of government to try to regulate that.
Okay, and pardon me but I'm also curious, you're looking at more revenue, you know, income. Is there any tax then for that the county benefits or the township benefits with being a rental? I mean, it's like Howard said,
Property taxes, because it's increasing the value of the property.
I'm
Margin,
not,
I mean, I don't know if
not
that,
qualified to answer that.
yeah.
The buildings they would get.
They'll get assessed.
Assessed, right, the buildings would be
the
assessed.
assess, but no, we're not making any
No.
money on hotel rates or anything like that. I rent a lot of Airbnbs, and you know, it can be pretty lucrative
Did you
for,
pay into the county at all with your Airbnbs?
I think it's different than motels, because you know,
Right,
motels
it
would be
is.
that, but it is kind of similar to motels, like Howard said during the,
Yeah, the city adopted,
it's out
I
of,
mean, was it anything over 10 days or 7 days or something like that? I think
There's some different.
it was something, it was just after I
municipalities
left this,
all
city,
over
or
the
just before I
board.
left the city plan commission, they adopted
Yeah.
something like that. That's the municipality.
yeah, and that's out of our wheelhouse, I get it,
Yeah.
but you know, you're looking at income and it's like. Anyway, I'll stay out of that.
But it still brings income
know.
as a whole to the county, because those people are here, they have to eat while they're here, they're gonna do things while they're here. But still bringing money into the county that way, so. I
Yeah,
guess,
What are the
indirectly.
county's restrictions on Airbnbs?
We have,
Only the health
Not much.
department.
yeah,
It's only the health department that regulates. We don't.
I know one of the things that was brought up that night, and it's something that I thought was very interesting, the more I thought about it. Is there gonna be a limit on how long we're going to let these people stay in these homes, or? Can they rent them out and stay in them for a whole year? Are we gonna be going back to tiny homes, or? You know, is there anything that should be put in here underneath these conditional? I'm not saying yes or no, but. I know it was talked about that night, and
I recognizing that conversation, I did check with our health department. As I said, they're the licensing agent for the state. And according to state code ATCP 79.11. Reads as follows: campsite use, designation, location, and density. campsite use, no operator may allow a campsite to be occupied by the same individual for more than 8 continuous months in any 12-month period.
But that's just saying it can't be rented. Now, you could all be together hunting or whatever, and you could rent it for so long, and he could rent it for so long, and you could all be staying in that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just underneath a different name is all
right.
it'd have to be.
Or you could rent all of them and everybody just rotates
Yeah.
every 8 months.
And again,
Yeah, but
that's,
now-
that's
now-
something
But we're going way out on the.
From a realistic standpoint, if this is camping, I don't know what these units look like, but are they gonna be heated? You know, January, you
Yeah,
sure
the-
wouldn't wanna be out there
yeah.
without heat.
I don't know if they will or not. I was just using that as. an
And
example.
I don't know, you put in a structure with heating, is that camping? I don't know what the definition is.
I will say too that we had my mom's property, mom and dad's property, and a campground went in right next to it, eastern Iowa. Rural. And it is something to consider on the, I guess he said he was agreeable to 30 days. The owner, when we talked about
I think he mentioned 60 and then he said, but I'd
60
be
or
agreeable
30,
for,
yeah.
Right down to 30.
whatever you guys come to, hopefully, 30, I think he said, or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna add that, trying to look at that time frame. Again, that's a difficult thing for this level of government to manage. First of all, we're gonna have to go strictly on testimony, whoever wants to rat them out, if you will,
Right.
because we can't sit and do undercover work to see if they're
Mhm.
past their 60 days or whatever, so.
But it'd
I-
still be nice to have it on the books though, even if you can't.
It would also set a dangerous precedent for this committee that. There's other campgrounds out there that you guys have all approved or past committees have approved that allow for 8 months. And this would cap it at
Like
30
you
to
got the
60
one
For only
days.
4 units.
It just, yeah, it looked like you're going after one individual.
But it's not camping though either. It's,
Well, you
they're
could say that about-
established cabins.
You could say that about other campgrounds in the county as well.
Other
whether they're
campgrounds have established cabins.
parking
Yes.
lot- They're parking
Yeah.
models, yeah,
The park models they
park
call them,
models, yeah.
they're 8 feet wide.
Yeah.
To go on the road,
Okay.
Gala Resort's full of them up in Wolf River.
So this isn't any different than any other campground in the county, other than it has many, well, severely less units from our,
Yeah,
you know.
and I don't, yeah, you're right. I don't know how you would enforce it other
Yeah.
than the testimony of the owner.
And they don't want to
A
come,
neighbor.
they don't want to tattle either. When it comes down to that, it's like, well, you're gonna have to testify and they,
In
well, I
court,
don't want
yeah.
my name out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's recognizing that conversation again during the hearing. That's why in these conditions, I put the 3-year thing on there. Every year for 3 years, and that's not to say we could extend that, but that gives it a good, first of all, it'll get it established. And then if there's any patterns, we should be able to get information about that, and if there are issues, well, then maybe we need to extend it another 3 years.
But
It's
at
up to
that
them,
time,
it's up to
only-
them how much they want to be monitored.
Only upon that review, we can't put conditions on after the fact. You can only,
But if
You
there's-
can review a conditional use. You can review it if conditions aren't being met. We
Okay.
did that with Country USA and we put up a 10-foot fence along that property line
okay,
because of that property owner.
okay. So there is an avenue there.
Mhm. And their conditions, they have to comply with our ordinance.
Can it be the responsibility of the owner to make sure? Because Airbnbs do, I think, just automatic background checks and, you know, it's just all automated. But that they could be sure that there's no sex offenders. No,
Again, do we do that with other campgrounds?
We don't want
I
to,
don't
we don't want to
believe we can.
micromanage campgrounds if we can help it.
okay,
Yeah.
right,
My
that's fine,
question is-
I'm fine with that.
My question, and I'm all for this, but. What happens? Can you just go ahead and rent that out, say as a house? Is it just gonna be rented out as a cabin? Say it could be a tiny home.
I mean, what it comes down to is
Yeah.
campground, so they have to meet the state statutory requirements by the health department, by our office, and. Anything less, any more restrictive than what the state is on this may not be considered reasonable for a conditional use,
But
but
maybe some
Reasonable.
young guy that really likes hunting and all that, thinks that that'd be an ideal
That's
spot to
true.
rent out for.
Yeah.
and keep it. Could they do that? Is there any restrictions? in there?
Perhaps not, I guess it would
Other
be
than the
different
8
than
months,
snowbirds
yeah.
going down to Florida with their units and then coming
For
back.
8 months, and then he could hop to another cabin for 8 months, but
Yeah.
if that's really what they wanna do. This, our
And
county
whoever
staff.
that
Trying to
person-
find you a house where you could like.
Hi. Thanks, Tom.
We'll
You could
watch,
rent out your
him.
garage for me.
We'll watch him.
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of, do we have more? Yeah,
Yeah, you have a motion.
to send it,
And second.
okay.
Yep.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 8, Stephen Cottrell, 5944 Gibbs Road, Town of Vinland, zoning map amendment.
Staff report reads as follows. The town of Vinland did not respond to. Towns didn't have any findings as there was no response. 3, there were no objections. 4, proposed use is compatible with adjacent lands. Recommendation is for approval.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve Stephen Cottrell zoning map amendments.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion on that? Seeing any, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. With that, our agenda is concluded. I'll accept the motion.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any adjourned?
I brought some snacks.